Krishna, dear devotees. Just a quick something I wanted to share. You noticed the nice big orange lily next to Kalachanji? That's from our community garden. Uh, and then Radharani's holding a rose. The yellow rose is also from our garden. So Krishna happens to be on the altar at this moment, but him and some of the Krishna house devotees have been planting some flowers at Kalachanji's community garden. And so just wonderful to see. Jai Shri Radha Kalachanji ki Jai. Drishta and
Have you been talking to Sringa? He knows too much. He's got too much history here. That's not a Hari Dev Das. And good morning to everyone. Hare Krishna. Rupa Nugadas with you this morning. And it's my pleasure to be here with you. For those of you who have your phones with you and you can get a signal from the outside, we're going to be reading from Bhagavad Gita text number 8.6, chapter 8, number 6. It's one that I'm sure you might not be familiar with. And it doesn't have to do with prasadam, even though it begins with yum yum. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yashuranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nitai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bo Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parividraka Charja Hasto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Loving Grace Abhaya Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parividraka Charja Hasto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Guru Vrinda Ki Sri Rup Sri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Girigirvardhana Ki Shri Vrindavanam Ki Shri Mathuradam Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Shri Shri Radha Kalachandi Dham Ki Ganga Devi Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Briyat Madanga Transcendental Book and Prasadam Distribution Ki, Jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pacharine Navishesha Shunyavadi Pasatade Siddhade Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Yasan Tato Jayam Oderayat Nasta Presha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavani Nastaki Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Once again, chapter 8, text number 6 of Bhagavad Gita. If you've got your book or you got your phone with you or you're at home. Oh, by the way, we thank all of you who are at home listening in, getting your batteries charged this morning, hopefully, on the recitation of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Let's chant this in poetry. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam Tyajatante kalevaram Tam tam evaitikundaya Sadatad bhava bhavita. And we'll do word for word translation. Yam yam, whatever. Va api, at all. Smaram, that's got an N at the end. Smaran, remembering. Bhavam, nature. Tyajati, gives up. Ante, at the end. Kalevaram, this body. Tam tam, similar. Eva, certainly. Eti, gets. Kaunteya, O son of Kunti. Who is that, by the way? Arjuna. Okay. Or he's one of the sons, but this is the one, he's the one who's being addressed here. Sada, always. Tat, that. Bhav, state of being. Bhavita, remembering. And translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Repeat with me. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So we'll read a little part of this purport by Srila Prabhupada. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. A person who at the end of his life quits his body thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is a point that we should note very carefully. Great personality. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although a great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, and so in his next life he was transferred into the body of a deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activities, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one to be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being at the end of one's life. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Marovishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Maya Dharati Swavarantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Dutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savaduttam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vidamscha He Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswaminiti Namane. So somehow or other, we got to remember Krishna. Not only at the end of our lives, but during our lives as well. But that's not always easy. So we can experience some difficulty in trying to remember. So many distractions in our society which grab our attention and just take it away, and it's really hard to think of anything transcendental a lot of the time, especially if you're having to go to work each day. It's very difficult to remember Krishna at every moment. And besides, my spiritual master once said, who do you think Arjuna was thinking about when he was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Was he thinking about Krishna? Probably not. He was firing so many arrows, his arm moved in an arc, and you could not tell when he pulled the arrow from his quiver and set it to his bow and released it. His arm was moving in a circle so fast. And all by the mercy of Krishna, but he was involved in performing his duty. So it is difficult. There are so many distractions, and even in our day-to-day lives, when we're riding around or watching something, some program, news program, or anything else on television, perhaps, or we're watching some really nice video from some time in the past, and it's really difficult. So that's a problem. And then there's always the political turmoil in our world, and it's really easy to take sides and decide who is right and who is wrong. But if we look carefully at both sides, we find that there's so much sinful activity that they are forced to engage in warfare even because of their past activities, the karma that they have accrued. Sometimes for those of us who are not involved in a battle or in a war right now, we have difficulty with our financial security, and that always brings about a certain amount of anxiety, especially if you have come here, from another country and you're engaged in performing work. People who were brought up in this country and who worked here in this country, they don't realize the difficulty that a person has moving from a very comfortable, safe environment to this country, just as Srila Prabhupada did in 1965, thereabout. Coming to this country, although Prabhupada did not have the comfort of family members who would take him in and help him find a job and finding a proper work to suit his educational background, as some of us have. His life was a lot more difficult than that. Came with no financial backing, no money, just a box full of books, and strong faith in the words of his spiritual master that he should go and try to deliver the fallen souls in the English-speaking language. So Prabhupada, he took on that extra burden which most of us would not be able to bear. And he came and he just performed the activity that he understood was, this is what my spiritual master has requested me to do many years ago, decades ago. And yet I'm now at the point of being able to do it, and let's see what I can do. Let's just see. Krishna, will you please help me decide what I should do? So, was Prabhupada distracted by this environment that he moved into, this Western world, especially in New York City and Boston even? Everywhere you go in this country, so many distractions, billboards on the side of the road, television programs blaring at you, different kinds of signs, advertising, businesses. And so it's not an easy thing to remember Krishna always and never to forget Krishna always. It's hard to do that. Then there's the fear of producing of failure, having failure, and that in itself can be very, as we say, gut wrenching. To try to do a business, to try to do a job at a business that's already established. It's a very difficult thing to do, and this will take one's mind away from thoughts of anything transcendental unless you're really, really practiced at performing devotional activities. So, and then there's the fear of losing one's image according to his family and his friends, the society that he's in. If one has actually worked hard, gone to school, got a degree, been working at a job, and then things don't work out so well as I have experienced in my own personal life, then it's a difficult thing to give up that image that you have of yourself and which you presume your family members and the rest of society has of you. And that's something that is also very troubling to the mind. And anything that is troubling to the mind is going to make it very difficult to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Then we talked a little bit about the videos that we can watch, and I have to admit, I watch some videos at home, sometimes just for entertainment, just sometimes for maybe enlightenment. And one of the things, I like to have somebody with me to watch a video because they can also bring something to that viewing that I have not thought of, and I can also share some thoughts that I have. And one of the most interesting and enjoyable videos that I've found during the past 10 years or so was Downton Abbey, which came as a television series. And if you watched episodes of Downton Abbey, you know that this is a family of people who were in a very enviable situation in a sense. Aristocratic family in the late 1800s in England, and all of the difficulties. They had three children, 3 girls, and the 2 older girls were constantly at each other's throats, trying to get the best of the other. And so one of the things that I found very interesting is that there is almost no mention of God in the whole video. And it's supposed to be a family that was exemplary in their society, and yet there's so much. It's not a grossly nasty video. It's not like that, as some are, but still, there was a very noticeable absence of anything having to do with the Supreme Lord. Of course, it showed people going to church occasionally, going to their synagogue, temple, whatever. But once that was over, then people came out, and then you began hearing all of the other stuff that goes on. So it's been this way for a long time in our society, and with the onslaught of the age of mechanization and merchandising, and in global trade and global in sharing of information, it's just so many things just to take your mind away and make it very difficult, so that even if you spend a couple of hours in the morning chanting the holy names of the Lord, unless you do something to fill your day more with transcendental ideas and remembrances of dramas that you have seen in the past, then the dramas that you have seen, the music that you've listened to, is going to continually pop into your mind, and is going to be present with you throughout the day. So this takes a great deal of personal endeavor to train one's mind how to continue to carry on. And so we have the literatures that Srila Prabhupada has brought with him too, because I think Prabhupada knew that without having some stories of saintly people and the difficulties they go through and the successes that they have and the godly people that they have in their lives, without those things to think about, we are going to think about silly things like two sisters in an aristocratic family always at each other's throats, trying to get the better of the other. But we find out that in reading about saintly people, what are they doing? They're trying to raise their families in a godly way, and they're trying to teach their children how not to look for the faults in other people, but to look for the good qualities. And sometimes I find myself, being a big fault finder, and so whenever my mind starts thinking about a particular devotee and why does he or she do it like this, and finding so many little picky things to worry about, I have to bring myself back and start looking for the good qualities in that person. How long has that person been doing devotional service? What did that person have to give up to come to Krishna consciousness? How did he deal with his families? How did she deal with her parents? Marrying a person, she married a person perhaps who was a devotee himself, and so how did the parents get along with all of that? Those are the kinds of things that should take the place of just simply mundane human beings doing mundane activities. We have to think about the good things. So take examples from the Bhagavatam and from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I like to think about Prahlad a lot because he was constantly bombarded by not only nasty words from his father, but also from his actions. He tried to kill his own son in so many ways. And yet, Prahlad, somehow or other, due to the training he received in his mother's womb from, I think, Narada Muni, that he came out a pure devotee of the Lord, and he was not interested in playing all the silly games that kids his age would be playing. Well, they're silly, but kids got to have activities. So you wonder, how in the world did he have himself trained to always want to engage in simply the glorification of the Supreme Lord, who was without a doubt with him at every moment in his thinking days, in the nights, in his mind, always thinking about this Supreme Person. So he must have heard some things from Sri Narada, even in the womb of his mother, as Prahlad was. He must have heard some things that took his attention away from all of the distractions of his age, and all of the kinds of training that his father tried very hard to get him to accept and to become expert in all the political stuff, how to carry on a political intrigue, how to get the best of your enemy, how to become the most powerful person in the world. And so that his father then would say, right before the appearance of the enemy of his life, in the form of Lord Nrsingadev, he asked Prahlad, yelled at Prahlad, says, "Where do you get your power, Prahlad?" And Prahlad humbly says, "From the same place that you get your power, Father." So he was saying that for us, we can think every one of us gets our power, whatever power of whether it be mental or physical or social, whatever skills that we have to use, all coming from the same place, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we don't desire to hear anything transcendental, then he will send his material energy to engage us, because that's part of his job, it seems, to help us to become happy in this material world. So he gives us all facilities for being happy, but then he gives us forgetfulness of himself, because that's what we were looking for when we came into this material world. How can I become the enjoyer without having to bow my knee to any supreme authority? And a lot of people in our society are like that today. They do not like authority because they've been taken advantage of so much of the time by authorities who were trying to do the same thing that they wanted to do, and that is maximize my enjoyment and that of my family members. Draupadi was such a fine example of a person who remembered Krishna at the right time. She was very distressed by being disrobed in the assembly of some of the greatest people on the planet, greatest men, and nobody would come to her rescue. Neither of her 5 husbands, nor Bhimasen, nor Dronacharya, nor even Dhritarashtra, who could have controlled the whole situation. Nobody would give her a place of refuge. She finally had to do what came most natural to her, and that is throw up her hands and say, "Hey, Govinda, hey, Gopal." And at that moment then, Krishna heard her. And later on it was said, I don't know where this was said, but it was said that Draupadi asked Krishna, "Why did you wait so long to come?" And Krishna's response, "Because you didn't call for me until then. As soon as you called for me, I came." So if Draupadi can get that kind of help from the Supreme Lord, can we not? But one of the things about Draupadi was also known by another name. What was it? Krishna, because she had the beautiful bodily complexion that Krishna had. And her mind was always filled with thoughts of Krishna. So whenever she called, Krishna came. And also Krishna saved her husbands from a great disaster one time when who was it? One of the Munis had lots of followers, and they came and they wanted to be fed. Who was it? Durvasa. Yeah. Always getting himself into trouble, that Durvasa. But very powerful he was. Anyhow, so how did Krishna come to Draupadi's aid? Everybody had finished eating. There was nothing left in the pots. So when that was the case, then there was no more to be had. That was Draupadi's special pot. But Krishna came and he looked and found one little sprig of something or other in the pot. and popped it in his mouth. And then with that, Durvasa Muni and all of his hundreds, I guess, of followers, were thousands of followers, were very satisfied just by Krishna's being satisfied with that one little speck of prasadam. And yet, we have prasadam every day, and we think nothing of it except, oh, I like this, and I don't like this so much. And yet, with that one little bit of prasadam, Krishna prasadam, he was able to satisfy at a distance so many other people. So Draupadi, then, her mind was so fixed on Krishna that she was able to get his help whenever she wanted it, whenever she asked for it. Ambarish Maharaj was another great soul who, at the end of a year's fasting, he was about ready to take fast to break his fast at the right time. And again, who was this? Who was that person? Durvasa Muni came and wanted something. He wanted to be fed and be treated like a royal guest. And of course, Durvasa knew what was going on. He knew that the time was coming for that fast to end, and he wanted to put the Ambarish Maharaj into a difficult position. But Ambarish Maharaj was a very, very saintly king, Raj Rishi, and so he asked all of his counselors, "What should I do? He's gone to take his bath, and the time is quickly approaching for me to break my fast. Otherwise, I lose the benefit of the entire year of fasting." And what did they say? Drink water. Because drinking water can be, abstaining from water is fasting, and taking water is not breaking fast, right? So, but he could break his fast. So water is a very interesting substance, You can fast from water, or you can use water to break your fast. Interesting, isn't it? Another person was Dhruva. Dhruva was, as a tiny boy, he was dissatisfied with the way his father, the king, was treating him, and was giving preference to his brother, and he wouldn't even let Dhruva sit on his lap. And so Dhruva was so disturbed, and he went to his mama and said, "Mama, I don't like this. My stepmother is not letting me sit on my father's lap, and I don't think that's fair." And so the mother agreed with the stepmother and said, "Well, you're right. Unless you take birth in her womb, you're not going to get the audience of your father. He's just that kind of person. He's showing favoritism." And so he followed the instructions that she gave him. He went out to the forest, and even as a tiny boy, he was by himself in the forest, and there's all kinds of wild animals and who knows what else. Maybe a few rakshasas around, and yet Dhruva was there by himself, and simply by calling on the Lord, by meditating on the Supreme Lord, he got the audience of the Lord, and he also got the protection of the Supreme Lord. Nothing hurt him while he was out there. So this is what happens when a saintly person then remembers the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is what we're enjoined to do also. So how do present-day devotees find protection from this material world? I know that whenever I take off to drive somewhere, like I go to pick up milk every Friday from Plano for the community and for the deities, and every time I get out on 75, I realize this could be the last time I'm getting on 75. Who knows? Because there are always accidents just waiting to happen. And so every time that I start out in my automobile, I offer prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. I just sing the prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. And if we're going on a road trip or something, we drive around the temple and circumambulate their lordships, asking for their protection. So that's one thing. Another is that we can get protected. We find that, let me start over. I've heard that devotees who go out and on book distribution and other kinds of Harinam Sankirtan, sometimes they are abused by other people. They're attacked by words, or even they attack them physically. And I've heard one instance in which I think there were three devotees, three brahmacharis out, and there was a group of two or three ruffians that were giving them a hard time, and I think they even hit one of the devotees. And so one of the devotees says, "You better be careful because you're going to have to pay for this in a short time if you're not." And before they even got out of sight, one of those boys that had attacked them fell dead with a heart attack. So our intense prayers then are heard. I think as a Christian we heard the statement from the Bible that the very intense prayers of a righteous man availeth much. The word was not intense. There was another word that was used, but that's what it meant pretty much. That is, if you really are in a difficult situation. So isn't that what the whole material world is for anyhow? It's to put us into the situations that we have no control over, that are very painful to us in some way or other, either psychologically or physically, mentally. We're in some kind of situation. And the more intense that difficulty is, then the more we have the tendency to look outside ourselves. It said that in the foxhole there are no atheists. You've heard that before. And on the battlefield, when men are in the places that they dug out in the ground to protect them from being killed, it is said that no one there is an atheist. Everybody prays to God in that kind of a situation. So this is my understanding, and I've said before in here, I've repeated what I've heard about someone from someone who said that at one time Srimati Radharani was asked, "What is the most valuable thing in this material world?" And you would think maybe the holy name or being with Krishna, but she said, misery, suffering, the most valuable thing in this material world. And we have that experience ourselves, don't we? That as long as everything is going along well, there's money set aside, the cars are paid for, we got our kids in school at the right place, and we're able to afford the tuitions and such. As long as all of that's in place, we feel that I'm either a lucky feller or I'm just a really good guy. I know how to make it happen. So sometimes we take the credit for all that, don't we? But when things get snatched away from us, whether it be a person that is very dear to us, a husband or wife, or a very good friend, and we don't have that person to communicate with, when one of our children is sick, very difficult. Very difficult. Nothing harder, perhaps, for a parent than to have a child who is extremely sick and on the verge, perhaps, of death. And so, at that point in time, what can we do? The doctors are doing everything they can, but there's only so much they can do. What can we do? So, it's at that time that we say, help, help. We call out for help, just like Draupadi called out for help. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I can't do it. I can't handle it. I can't make things happen. I'm failing at what I'm doing. You got to help me. And so that's the way to get Krishna's attention. When we're crying to Krishna like a baby cries to his mother, for his mother. I'm hungry. I'm wet. I need a changed diaper. I need something. I need to be close to a human body. When we if we cry like a baby cries to Krishna, saying, "Lord, I don't know what to do. Uh, I've done everything I know to do. I can't make it happen. I just can't make it happen." Then you get Krishna's attention. But it takes sometimes getting to that point that we're just totally distressed. We don't know what else to do. So one of the easiest times to remember Krishna, if you have a normal sickness, if there's such a thing as normal sickness, is to know that that death is near. And then it should be easy for a person to say, "My Lord, I need your help. If you choose not to take me or not to give me back my health, then please, take me wherever you are. That's where I want to be. Or take me to wherever my spiritual master is." So that's how we get the attention of the Lord. Just giving up and saying, "I thought I was smart enough to make all these things happen. I thought I was smart enough to make life good for my family and my friends, but I'm just not, And so when we have that attitude of humility, then we can call on Krishna, and Krishna will come. We might not be convinced that Krishna even exists, but at a time like that, then we start thinking, yep, he's got to be there. He must be there. Otherwise, how can these things be happening to me? Hare Krishna. That's all I've got to say about that. Does anything come to mind that you might like to share? I've got my ears here beside me, so we can get there's a microphone there. Ever find yourself in a situation where you just couldn't see a way out? Rupa.
I mean, definitely yes to that question you just asked. Many times in life, feel very stuck, and in those moments, grateful that I was somehow, by some causeless mercy, born into a family of devotees and could turn to Krishna. But I was, as you were reading the verse and the translation, I was having a conversation with Yashomati Nandan Prabhu, and he said that he was in a class or somehow, and he heard that Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that at the end of your life, it's like an accumulation of everything. And I think Prabhupada kind of says that in the purport also, that it's like an accumulation. It's, like you spend your whole life as a devotee trying to become Krishna conscious, and maybe your mind goes somewhere for a second. It's, So I was very comforted by that it's not that you can spend your whole life trying to serve Krishna and think of, I don't know, pizza, and now you're born in Italy as running a pizza shop or something, like it's an accumulation of your practice in your life. And then also what came to mind was Giraj Maharaj shares, I don't remember all of the details behind it, but that, from pulling Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra cart one time, holding the ropes, so that at the end of your life, when everything's flashing by, that vision of Lord Jagannath will freeze and stay there for you. So anyway, just some things that came to mind. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu.
There was another instance, I can't remember who it was, maybe Yudhishthira, King Yudhishthira was talking to Krishna and asking the question, Krishna, what if I can't remember you at the end of my life? And, I've done everything that I knew to do during my life, but now my life is coming to an end. But, what if my mind is so bewildered by drugs, that they're giving me to get rid of a cancer or something, and I can't think of you. What then? And what does Krishna say? If my devotee can't remember me, I will remember my devotee. Yeah, that's nice. That's the kind of person Krishna is. He's the one who has within his body that we see here on this altar. He has the power to create a whole universe, and not only one universe, but unlimited numbers of universes, and populate them with living entities and all kinds of species of life. In this universe, it's 8,400,000 different species. You know, I think the word that I can find that best describes that is inconceivable. I'm just not even going. I'm not even going to try to wrap my head around that. But I can think about Krishna coming to the Pandavas out in the forest during their exile, and giving them comfort and then empowering them to fight a battle against a heavily weighted opposition that even had Krishna's own army on their side. And yet Krishna is there taking the lower class position of chariot driver, just driving the horses. That's all he has to do. But Arjuna knew his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew him as that. Not only did he know him as his friend, who sometimes sat down right beside him or went walking with him along the Jamuna, but someone, in other words, someone who was his friend. And the one who kept his brother, Balaram, from going after Arjuna and killing him whenever he kidnapped Subhadra. This is Krishna also. Krishna is the inconceivable person, but he's also the friend of Arjuna. He's the provider for the Pandavas. He's the one that looks after Draupadi. He does these things. He comes and he makes a rare appearance in this material world just to save a little 5-year-old kid who's being harassed by his father. What else?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I just remembered something, Prabhu. Yesterday I was talking to Mother Anuradha, and she was imploring that you should read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And as you were describing that, is it possible to remember Krishna just like that? One thought came to mind is, I think what you're most attracted to at the end of your life, it is what remains in your heart. Like if you're attached to something, that is what you will remember at the end of life. And then a prayer from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I just remembered something as you were mentioning that is a blessing from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I'd just like to read. This is the 4th verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's giving a blessing, he's saying, "May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love." Just wanted to share that.
That's very nice. If we focus on thinking about Krishna in a certain way, as as the most beautiful person, or the friend and protector of the Pandavas, for example, it's easier to remember him according to his pastimes than it might be to understand him according to the philosophy. If you perhaps heard it said that Srila Vyasadeva wrote the Mahabharata after having created having divided the Vedas into four for the different kinds of people who needed a particular thing. But he wrote the Mahabharata for those of us who, in this age of Kali, are very weak-minded. We prefer to hear a story than to hear a philosophy. Of course, there are a lot of very nice stories in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but there's a lot of philosophy there too. So that is really the cream of his efforts, the Mahabharata, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is there anything else? Anyone else wants to bring up? Manjari Gopika Devi.
I am trying to find this one verse, and I know I have it in my notes somewhere. I haven't been able to find it, so I'm going to send it later. But there's a verse in the 11th canto where I believe Krishna is speaking to Uddhava, and he explains that if someone's performing devotional service and is his devotee, but for some reason at the time of death is unable to remember him, he will remember them. And I also did hear a class by His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj where he said that Krishna is so kind and so merciful. And if someone is the supreme good and the supreme merciful, then of course, at the most important moment of your life, you don't think of him, he's not going to hold that against you. He understands what's actually in your heart.
That's a nice promise to hear, isn't it? Yeah, he's such a nice person. He's such a nice guy, this Krishna. Such a nice person, you know. We perhaps been around people who exhibited some of those characteristics in our lifetimes. And that's just the kind of person that you want to have around you all the time, isn't it? Nanda Braj Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. I was thinking about your question before handing out the mic, that have we been put into a situation where we're completely bewildered, we have no clue what to do. And I was thinking about how Arjuna is in this situation, you know? That he's in a situation where he says he doesn't know his duty. He's due to miserly weakness, and what does he do? He takes shelter of Krishna. And then Krishna says, okay, now I can speak Bhagavad Gita. And so I was thinking that we don't wish upon ourselves anything but what Krishna desires. But we can be very appreciative of the tough times, because at the time of death, whatever little freedom you thought you had, you have no control. You cannot do anything. You cannot stop death. When death is there, there's nothing you can do. There's no buying, purchasing, no talking it out of it, you know? So what an ultimate taking away of your freedom, right? Just snatched from you. And so we can see through Arjuna that the tough times that we have in life, we just take shelter of Krishna. We have to take shelter of Krishna, even to the point where we're taking shelter of Krishna, that if, you know, my remembering you is up to you even. What devotees are saying, in the sense of Krishna will help you remember him at the time of death.
The trick is to gain that ability before the time of death. Manjari Gopika Devi. Wait.
I found the verse. Can I share it, Prabhu?
Please.
Okay. It's really in the purport. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 7, verse 6. So the verse is, now you should completely give up all attachment to your personal friends and relatives and fix your mind on me. Thus, being always conscious of me, you should observe all things with equal vision and wander throughout the earth. And then this is the excerpt from the purport. This was from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Those great souls who have surrendered unto me are always equipped with transcendental knowledge and detachment from the material world. Sometimes, being busy in their devotional service, they may appear to forget me. However, a pure devotee who has achieved the platform of love for me will always be protected by such sincere devotion. Even if such a devotee should suddenly give up his life while neglecting to fix his mind intensely on me, such a devotee's loving feelings are so powerful that they afford him all protection. Even if there is a temporary moment of forgetfulness, such devotion will bring the devotee to my lotus feet, which are beyond the vision of ordinary materialistic persons. Uddhava is my pure devotee. Knowledge of me and detachment from this world have again been aroused in him because he can never give up my association. 11.7.6.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class. And another aspect of, the time of death, as everybody was mentioning, we're so fortunate that we have the association of devotees. Even if we forget, they remind us, and so always aspiring to be in the association of wonderful devotees. Jai.
What a benediction it is to, at the time of one's death, to be surrounded by Krishna's devotees, chanting the holy names and such. I guess we could pray for that, but we never know when it's going to be a car crash that takes us out, or when a 747 is going to drop out of the sky and land on our house or something.
What she was just saying reminds me of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has, I think it's maybe like 4 principles for community or something like that, and one of them is that basically, really work to develop good relationships with the devotees you're around, because the chances are very high that they will be the ones that are there when you leave your body. So, that in that kind of mood of value who's around you, develop those good relationships, because most likely they're going to be the ones there at the end of your life.
You certainly don't want to alienate those people. All right, shall we quit? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Kalachandidam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sinubhya Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Everybody chant the holy names. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Just in time. Just in time.